Elon Musk's xAI company just released a new AI model called Grok 3. And Grok 3, admittedly, is kind of a controversial model. There's a lot of different sources that have been talking about it. Some have been hyping it up a lot. Others have made some claims showing that it isn't really great at what it does. So it is a very interesting story. We're going to get into it today and we're going to be talking about if it's worth the hype. Let's get into it. Okay, so we're going to start off with this Bloomberg article giving a little bit of an overview as to the new Grok 3 AI chatbot. Now, I would typically be showing like a official source, but the announcement and all the information from it was from a live stream, so I'm going to go to a fairly neutral source, which is Bloomberg, and talk about that to give the overview about what's going on. So the Grok 3 AI chatbot, according to xAI themselves, beats Alphabet Incorporated's Google Gemini, DeepSeek's V3 model, Anthropic's Claude, and OpenAI's GPT-4o, at least according to xAI. These are benchmarks xAI themselves, so obviously it might be a little bit biased. But according to them, across math, science, and coding benchmarks, Grok 3 beats them all. And apparently, they are continuously improving the model every day, and there's some interesting features that they implemented into this model. Namely, one called Deep Search, which is a reasoning chatbot that expresses its process of understanding a query and how it plans its response, which is interesting because with most reasoning chatbots, they don't actually expose the reasoning to the viewer, especially with OpenAI's reasoning AI models. They don't tend to expose the actual underlying reasoning process to the user. Now, some open source models, such as the DeepSeek model, that does expose its reasoning, but that's because, it's a publicly available model. This one, even though it's not an open source model, it does expose its actual reasoning process, which I do find pretty cool. Now, it also has options for research, brainstorming, and data analysis, which is quite similar to what OpenAI did a little while back with their deep research tool. Their deep research tool effectively did the same thing. It can scour the internet and get more in depth. So, alongside reasoning, it can use data sets from the internet itself to give you a more concise answer as to your query. So, Grok is making a competitor to OpenAI's deep research, effectively. Now, Grok 3 is rolling out to Premium Plus subscribers on X starting today, and the company is starting a new subscription called quote unquote Super Grok for the bot's mobile app and the grok.com website. xAI also plans to open source preceding versions of the Grok model as soon as the latest one is fully mature, which I do actually find pretty cool. For what that's worth, that's actually kind of neat. Now, Musk's performance claims, which have not necessarily been independently verified, which is somewhat incorrect, and I'll get into that in a minute. So, Bloomberg's a little incorrect here. It ramps up an increasingly bitter rivalry between his startup and OpenAI, whom Elon Musk has filed 2 lawsuits against. Full disclosure, they're not exactly best bud companies. Now, if we're talking about the performance claims, so far the main benchmarks have only really been done by xAI themselves. And admittedly, this isn't the best graph I've ever seen because some of it's a little bit confusing, and I've heard different takes on what the different shades of color represents. So, but as far as I can tell, what the graph defines is these two, the blue ones here, are the Grok models, the Grok 3 models, and then the sort of lighter shades indicate if you give it extra processing time to do more reasoning, if you give it extra time to really think, then that's the end result. Because this is a reasoning plus test time compute score. So basically, how long did it take, and how good is the score? So apparently, Grok does outperform O3 Mini, O1, DeepSeek R1, and Gemini 2 Flash thinking pretty well. It succeeds in math, science, and coding. And again, for what it's worth, it does seem to be a genuinely really performant model, at least according to xAI. Now, there are some people who have disagreed. One person on Twitter, this guy named Theo, went ahead and tested out some of the coding ability of Grok 3 against O3 Mini and Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which is not a reasoning model. So, as you can see, um, what kind of happened here is that we have these different things. I think the prompt was to have like a hexagon and a ball in the hexagon, and the ball's supposed to bounce throughout the hexagon. Grok 3, the ball just seems to clip out of the hexagon, and then O3 Mini and Claude 3.5 Sonnet succeeds pretty well at it. He also went ahead and gave it one more go, and it doesn't seem to succeed. Now, admittedly, it is a early version of the model. Grok 3 isn't fully out yet, it's just kind of halfway out, so it is entirely possible that this could be some kind of a bug, but it does go to show that the whole "it's really good at coding" claim might not be entirely true. But there is one independent source that does show that the Grok 3 model might actually be really, really good. So, that independent source is the Chatbot Arena. Now, I've talked about this before in some previous videos long ago. The Chatbot Arena is an independent, user-based voting system where you can literally battle AI chatbots against each other and vote on which one got the answer done the best. Apparently, Grok 3, or what they call Chocolate, which is apparently the early version of Grok 3, is currently #1 ranked on the Chatbot Arena, which is pretty good. That is a pretty decent indicator as to how this model is doing, especially because this is an independent source. Now, admittedly, this model does not have the same amount of votes as, any of the other models, so with time, this rank might fall down. But as of right now, anyways, at least as of making this video, it's currently at a #1 rank, which, for what it's worth, is genuinely really good. It has a 1,402 arena score, which basically is extremely good. That means that is a really decent model. Now, say what you will, I've seen a lot of different takes. I've seen people praising this AI model. I've seen people saying it's not that good. There's a lot of different positions to this whole story. I think the best way of trying out this AI model, in my opinion, at least if you don't want to pay any money, is to go on the Chatbot Arena, because you can go in and actually use Grok 3 for free by going to lmarena.ai. You go to the direct chat option, and then choose early Grok 3. I think the best way to test it out is to just test it out yourself, because as of right now, as to whether or not it's genuinely more powerful, that's a little bit undecided. My best source for whether or not it's truly a better model is the Chatbot Arena, but even then, it does not have as many votes as compared to something like, Gemini's model. So, again, take it all with a grain of salt. And admittedly, I don't personally tend to trust the benchmarks done by the AI companies themselves, because those benchmarks, they can obviously be a little bit biased towards, the AI company's own model. So I think until there's a more well done independent benchmark to really tell whether or not it's a better model, then we can, then that's when it'll be a little more verified. But as of right now, it's kind of undecided as to how good this model even is, especially considering the fact it's still early. It's not at like a fully ready for public use release. It's still in the works. So I guess with time we'll find out, but the model admittedly in some areas does look fairly promising, and the user base has said, hey, this is actually really good. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep this going, and I'll make another video updating you guys on how this is going, depending on, what benchmarks come out independently, and if this model, when this model receives its full release, its full mature release, how it compares with all the other models currently. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. If you want to watch more, you can watch the videos right next to me. Take care, you guys. Stay safe out there.